Immersed robot.
Hello everyone, welcome to Immersed Robot, and just quickly before I get into the video, I do want to apologise if the footage I'm showing here is moving around a little bit too much. It's something I'm consciously trying to improve with my videos. I do tend to look around a lot when I'm playing VR, and I've received comments on it, and it's something I've noticed as well anyway, and it's something I am trying to improve, so apologies if it is a little bit too much in this video. I will try to do better in future videos. So the No Man's Sky Frontiers update is finally dropped, and I wanted to come in and take a look, as I always do whenever there's a major update with the game, and I did actually record some voiceover while I was playing the footage that I'm showing here now, but unfortunately the audio was corrupted, which is a little bit frustrating, so I am doing some voiceover after the fact now, but hopefully it will give you an idea of my first impressions anyway. It just won't be while I'm playing the game, unfortunately. But I am playing on a Valve Index running on an RTX 3080 with a Ryzen 5 5600X CPU as always, and my full specs are in the description to this video if you want a little bit more information on that too. And I do take a look at performance a little bit later on in this video, so check that out. I will try to remember to do timestamps for this as well, just if you want to check that out, but I do go into a little bit of performance on this update later on. But this video really is just a very quick first impressions overall, and I did read some patch notes before going in. Well, I read all the patch notes on the website, and the updates seem to be primarily focused around the settlements and giving the player the new role of overseer to govern these small expanding towns or settlements and increase the properties such as citizen happiness, production, and protect it from sentinel attacks and things like that. But I was going to actually start a brand new save after this update dropped, but I decided to just jump in with my normal save, which is around 70 to 80 hours that I've been playing that save, and I've finished the story. I've played through the game, but I'm now in the end game, and I'm playing. There's still plenty to do. There's still plenty I've not done in this game, so I thought it seemed a shame to start again, so I'm probably just going to continue playing with this update, just my normal save really, because I think that's the best way. I don't want to go back and retread old ground again. But first of all, I did go into space, and I received a distress message which guided me to a nearby settlement, and I went down, and I really like the look of this settlement. I will say, like, the new building features and just the buildings in general, they do look really nice, and to see all these NPCs wandering around, it seemed to be like buzzing with activity really, and it really looked great. And I interacted with a citizen before being surprise attacked by the sentinels, and the initial fight was short, and the citizens didn't really help, I noticed, although they did run away, the cowards. So yeah, I was left on my own battling the sentinels, which was fine, you know, they weren't too difficult to defeat, but I did notice as well my gun kept disappearing, especially at the beginning of the fight, which was frustrating, and I felt like perhaps the grip on the Valve Index controller when I was releasing that was just disappearing, but I don't know if it was that, because I tested that and, you know, it just kept disappearing randomly, it seemed, which was a little bit frustrating. And there are going to be bugs in this, of course. We all know whenever a new major update drops with No Man's Sky, it does come with some bugs included free of charge, and this was one of the issues, but it wasn't a major issue. And I know some people have been having some crashes. My son actually was playing it on PS4 earlier on today, and he's had it crash several times on him as well, so hopefully they'll get all of these little things resolved as well, as they usually do over the next few days and weeks. But after that fight, I was offered to rule over the settlement, which I accepted. And while I was wandering around after going through these initial stages really, I did feel like the settlements looked great. I just kept being constantly surprised by how good it looked actually, especially on this planet. It was sort of the scenery and the settlement all combining, and it looked fantastic. And again, it just felt full of life, and it was probably the most natural, busy area that I've felt in the game. Even more so than the space stations. Of course, within the anomaly you get other real players to interact with and stuff like that, so that gives that a sense of life too. But other than that, this was one of the most natural areas I felt in the game, and it was sort of buzzing with activity. I thought that was really well done. And overall, with this update, when I first saw the patch notes, I was probably slightly disappointed, really, and I'm not really big into base building, farming, and managing those types of things in the game. I've done all of the basics that you need to do to complete the story, and I've gone a little bit beyond that, but not too far. But now I'm in the end game, and there are other things I want to get into. This is probably going to be a nice introduction into letting me see that side of things. So I want to see how I go with this settlement kind of mechanic that they've introduced here, and I'm not opposed to trying out that and maybe getting a little bit more into base building too, actually. So just after this very short time, it did seem like there were some novel new mechanics that might push me to play the game in a slightly different way than I usually would. So getting on to performance as well, it was great, and this was another surprise because after major updates usually we will see that the performance will tank at least for a few days. At least that's the experience that I've had in pretty much every major update. When I play in VR, the performance is usually much worse directly after a major update, but it wasn't the case here, and it was performing really well. So I was running the Valve Index on 150% SteamVR super sampling on generally low settings in game. I didn't have any anti-aliasing enabled, DLSS wasn't enabled. I don't really like the way that looks, or any anti-aliasing really, so I prefer to play without any anti-aliasing whatsoever. And I was running the Valve Index at 80 Hz initially, and 80 frames per second was no problem at all. Just wandering around this settlement, it was keeping it pretty constant at 80 FPS, although flying over the surface in the ship I did notice it drop down, and those usually do drop down anyway in this game. It wasn't too bad, and once I'd got away from the settlement slightly, it was performing pretty well in the ship as well. I did also try 90 FPS, and that was working really well too for the most part. There were occasional drops. Once I went up to 120 Hz in the Valve Index, it was running in reprojection, then dropping down to 60 FPS. So I went really settled on 80 FPS within this game, 80 Hz in the Valve Index on low settings, and it was, you know, that's how I like to play this game. It looked great, and the performance was really nice at a native frame rate as well. So overall, for a very first quick look in this update, I was pleased. It perhaps wasn't exactly what I was looking for in an update, but I'm willing to give it a fair shake, and I'll stick with it for a while to see how I get on, especially with this settlement mechanic. It does intrigue me in some ways, and I'm willing to see how that interests me as I go on with it. But generally I'm just really looking forward to getting back into the game, really, and I hope to do a few more No Man's Sky videos over the next few weeks too. Yeah, but that's pretty much all I've got to say with this video. Just a quick first look, and hopefully there'll be more from me on this game in the next few weeks. But thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Please consider supporting Immersed Robot on Patreon, or joining the Discord, or following me on Twitter, or better yet, all of the above. Links in the description below.